Welcome to the milk bar. 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 Welcome to the milk bar.
Welcome along to episode 715 of The Milk Bar. Jason Forrest here with you as ever. And coming up on the show this week, we'll be hearing from Steve Ellis, the voice of The Love Affair, all about the sensational 60s experience at the Wolverhampton Grand Theatre. That's coming up in May. Fifth Gear host Vicki Butler Henderson lets us know how we must continue to look after our cars, even during this cost of living crisis. We find out about the production of Aphrodite by Codsall Dramatic Society, which is coming up in just a few weeks' time. We also hear about another great thing on stage. It is the Stafford Gatehouse Theatre's Shakespeare Festival. That's coming up June into July. Time to get your tickets now. Grant Kilpatrick lets us know about how you can get tickets for his gig in Birmingham. That's coming up in the latter part of March. Also, we'll be finding out from Kay Adams about the importance of looking after our ears and checking on hearing loss. Aldo Kane is out and about. We'll be hearing what he's been up to on his Exodus holidays. And Tim Dunn lets us know all about his latest series on railway architecture on Yesterday. That's all coming up on the show this week. This April, Aphrodite is brought to life by the Codsall Dramatic Society. I'm joined now by four of their number to let us know more. Hello.
Hello.
Right, let's have introductions, please, and characters.
Well, starting with me, I'm Wendy. I'm not acting in this one. I'm assisting Sammy, our very capable director.
I'm Sammy. I'm directing this one, which is enjoyable. After you.
I'm Claire, and I play Lily, who really has a northern accent. I don't talk like this in the play.
And I'm Jackie, and I play Janice, and I've also got a northern accent. We've been practicing it a lot.
Northern's quite nice to go to. From Midlands to Northern, it's not too hard to travel, is it really? And with the selection of this particular show, and the fact you're on from the 26th through to the 29th, we'll go through the actual show time shortly. It's going to be another opportunity to show off a bit and the amazing talent that Codsall have. Coming hot off the heels of the sort of kids play at Christmas, this is now something much more grown up.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could say that.
Yeah, it's definitely grown up in that the setting of it is in an adult toy factory call centre. So there are some slightly naughtier bits than you might be used to, but luckily it doesn't get too outrageous.
And basically, it's a story of the four of the girls that work in the call centre. And it's the relationships between them, and that's what makes the story so interesting and heartwarming. It's very poignant, but there's an awful lot of laughs along the way, as you can appreciate.
A quirky manager who's male, and how he has to put up working with these four women and their lives.
Anyone who doesn't sympathise with him at the end of it, I'm worried about.
Yeah.
So you've got a production where you've got friendship, you've got love, you've got loss, but as you say, laughs are plenty. And so, what's it like trying to direct this one? Because again, it must be difficult keeping everybody organised when you have got such a funny script.
Yeah, it's interesting because obviously it's based in the call centre, and trying to get them to behave at certain points during rehearsals is interesting.
They're just getting into character, though, aren't they? That's what it is.
Yeah. So I have to get them to behave sometimes and tone them down and say, "Come on, let's get it together." But no, it's good fun.
And when you're assisting Wendy, it must be difficult for you to keep a straight face as well.
I don't have to, because I'm sitting watching, so I can laugh away to my heart's content.
You get to be a test audience.
As I said, it's not all abundant laughs, but there's a lovely balance between the humour and the poignancy in the relationships.
Yeah, there's definitely some serious notes that make you think as well.
And I think what I think is the most beautiful thing is that all the characters feel very real. They're very relatable, and they've got real experiences that it's really lovely to see those experiences come to life on stage.
And the relationships as well, seeing the relationships between the characters. I'm enjoying watching the characters blossom, and the relationships between the women and the manager all blossom and grow together as well. That's nice to watch.
And how does it work as far as the play itself goes? I take it it's in 2 acts?
It is in 2 acts, yes, but there's about 5 or 6 short scenes in each act. It follows the course of about 6 months, just not quite a year. So, you know, the scenes zip along, you know, no sooner have you started one than you're sort of into the next one and the next one. So it's more like the Ladies' Day, Ladies Down Under plays that we did a few years ago, in the sense that it's, you know, it's very snappy.
And something which is going to entertain, but also, cause that moment of thinking. But as you said, leave you feeling sorry for the manager when you exit the building on the night. But also, you'll come away feeling you've made friends, I'm going to guess.
Yeah.
I think so. I think all the characters deep down are quite likeable. Some on the surface you wouldn't really perhaps want to be best friends with, but like many workplaces, you know, these friendships develop and grow, and you know, in the most unlikely ways.
And you can relate to each character as well. I think a lot of people in the audience will definitely probably find some common ground with some of the characters and think, wow, I can understand what they're going through, and I felt that myself. Or, you know, there's definitely things that people will be able to relate to themselves.
And any good advice on using the products of the company as you go through the show as well? No, let's not go there. Let's
just have fun.
That's where most of the hilarity in rehearsals has been, when one or the other of us is just absent-mindedly handling the props, and then we'll catch someone else's eye, and then all hilarity ensues.
It's one to be seen on stage. You say 18 plus is the suggestion here, because it's adult theme, even though it's adult fun themed. So it's worth getting yourself along. CodsalldramaticsSociety.co.uk. Look out for them on Facebook. How else can we get tickets?
Right, they can contact the tickets hotline 01902 267 322. You can book online, as you've already mentioned, on the website www.CodsalldramaticsSociety.co.uk. And we are trialling tickets on sale here at the Village Hall on Wednesday mornings and Friday mornings between 9 and 12. But to purchase tickets there, you will have to pay by cash.
Real money?
Real money, yes. But any other tickets reserved, pay on the door as usual. And we do have a card machine available for those transactions on the nights of the performances.
Price at £9.50 to 26th, 27th and 28th at 7:30 p.m. Then the Saturday matinee at 2:30. And it will be something to behold, I think. And to hold as well, possibly. Let's not go there either. Aphrodite, played by Anna Longaretti. And it is going to be brought to life by Codsall Dramatic Society, I'm sure, both beautifully, poignantly, and with a smirk on your face too. Thank you for joining us. Have a brilliant time. Break a leg, but none of the props.
Thank you.
Thank you.
On the 24th of March, Scruffy Murphy's in Birmingham is playing host to Grant Kilpatrick, who joins me now to tell me about some of the music and the madness that we're bringing to the stage. Hello, sir. How are you doing?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Now, first of all, let's start on some of your music, because you've got a very lively sound, haven't you?
Yeah, I'd say so. It's definitely that high energy rock type vibe I'm going for. Something you can turn up really loud, and whenever you're at a gig, get your ears blasted off, basically.
So do make sure you bring earplugs if you're a sensitive disposition. If you're not, you're going to have an amazing
Absolutely.
time. So tell us a bit about you, because you're heading quite a long way south for both the gig in Birmingham on the 24th and then back up to Manchester on the 25th.
Yeah, so these gigs are going to be the first time I've been south of the border playing my music, so it's quite exciting. I've played, plenty of gigs up here around Edinburgh and Glasgow, and I just thought it was time. Do you know what? I need to try and join you down there and get some gigs down south, type of thing, because there's some really good, vibrant music scenes down there, especially Manchester and Birmingham. So I'm really looking forward to it, actually. It's going to
Yeah,
be
well, the Midlands is, as I said, it's a great music scene, and people head over from our city of Wolverhampton, pop along, see what's going on in Brum, and enjoy the music over there. And Scruffy Murphy's has got an amazing reputation, hasn't it? And one that I assume you picked up on, hence you playing the gig.
Yeah, so I've heard. It looks like quite a cool venue, and like we have sort of similar kind of rock metal type bars in Edinburgh where I'm from. So yeah, I'm kind of looking forward to it. It'll be good. I've heard good things about the place, so can't wait.
So when it comes to your music, obviously you've developed this over a little bit of time. You're still tender in years. So give us a bit of the background on what makes Grant tick.
Well, I started playing guitar when I was 12, and always had a background in kind of rock, and was really into metal for a while, and actually really into a lot of old like progressive rock music as well. So I used to dabble in a lot of that type of stuff. I'm quite a proud Genesis fan, by the way, and Yes and all that, and Rush and all those guys. So my music taste is quite varied, but I'm also really into your kind of like straight down the line rock type stuff. So I love Oasis, a big fan of Bare Naked Ladies, bands like that. Good, concise songwriting. So when it came to writing my own material, I was like, you know what? I want to write anthemic tracks, but that are quite concise. So hooky, possibly a bit dancey, but with a good, guitar edge. And that was my plan. So that's kind of the idea behind my sound. Good, concise tunes that are hooky with a kind of rock edge, because there's not like I don't feel like there's too much of that in the mainstream one. Like, there's plenty of guitar bands, but it's usually either sort of indie type stuff, which is great, and I love that too. But I kind of just want to sort of, I don't know, I want to try and combine all my influences and put it out there into my own sort of style, bund it all up, So
It's more sort of indie metal than indie rock. Is that kind of it?
I wouldn't say metal. Like it's difficult because I've been using like indie rock is how to describe it. I mean, if indie means independent, then I'm certainly independent. It's like no label and whatever else, and I fund everything from the tours to the recordings and all that. But it's probably more on the sort of rock side of things.
Serious about your rock, serious about entertaining the crowd. And how do you do that on the road? I mean, is it just you, or have you got an entourage?
No, yeah, so there's a full band. So we have a drummer, obviously, a guitar player and bass player, and I'm playing guitar as well. So that's the other thing. It's like people ask you, so you're a singer-songwriter? And I'm like, well, I'm a singer-songwriter in the sense that I sing and write this sort of conjures up images of, folk strumming acoustic guitars and whatever else. And that's not really what I'm trying to go with this. It's quite sort of intense rocky type stuff. But yeah, so there'll be a full band, Scruffy Murphys, and the guys in the band are like basically my best mates. The drummer and I, Ewan, we've been playing together since we were 12 years old, and so these guys are lifelong friends. All the guys in the band are. So yeah, it'll be good to just go out and play some gigs, but also with some of your best pals,
And when it comes to the music releases too, obviously there's been singles out, and I mean they've got some good attention. But hopefully by making your way out and about just that little bit more, it's going to spread the word, and before you know it, you might be able to turn the attention into chart success. Fingers crossed.
Well, hopefully, I mean, the thing about going down south and playing was just to kind of make a mark in some different territories. I mean, I could have waited around longer to kind of go, okay, well, is it, a show in Birmingham, people are going to turn up, or am I confident enough and go play a show in Manchester and people are going to turn up? But the reality is you have to start somewhere. So I kind of just made a decision. I was like, look, the tracks are getting decent plays. I think there's a scene here. Let's go down and play to some new people. And I've actually been quite overwhelmed by the reaction. I mean, I've had people message me that I've come across like my stuff on Instagram or through an ad, and they've been like, oh, do you know what? I just caught a snippet of your music there for whatever, 5 seconds or whatever, and I love the sound of it. I went and checked the rest on Spotify, and I bought 2-3 tickets to the show. So it's been quite good. I've been quite overwhelmed by the reaction to it.
Well, I say it's a development of the music, which you say you've got a very defined audience for, and Edinburgh must be absolutely loving it, which is cool. And again, that's another city that knows its music and entertainment. So it must be great playing up there. It's a place I'd love to come and visit. So it'd be interesting to see how things develop. The gig itself, as we say, is the 24th of March. Scruffy Murphy's is the venue down the road in Brum. Easy enough to get to. What time of doors and how do we get tickets?
So the doors are going to be at 7:30, and we're going to have a couple of support bands as well. One that's still yet to be confirmed for Birmingham, but we're also going to have Free Spirits, who are an amazing band. It's quite sort of heavy rock type stuff, so come down early to come see them. And you can buy tickets at shop.grantcop.co.uk, and you can find tickets there.
So get your tickets, get along, have an amazing time at the gig. Meanwhile, prepare yourself, learn the words to the songs. It always impresses an artist when you can sing along to the songs.
I'll try.
Where do we go to for the rest of the music and the website?
So you can go to grantcilpatrick.co.uk, and there's to Spotify and all the other streaming platforms there. You can also get your tickets from there as well. So grantcilpatrick.co.uk.
And of course, there's links to all the Instagram and the Facebook pages and everything like that. But Grant Kilpatrick Music is what you're looking for if you want to head that way and see what this man is up to on the socials, alongside the rest of the band who make an appearance too. Grant, lovely speaking to you. Thank you for joining us. What we're going to listen to now? What track have you got for us to whet everybody's appetites?
I think you should give You're Found a spin.
Thank you for joining us. Have a brilliant time. Break a leg if we have to say that to musical artists. I'm not entirely sure we do. But have a great time when you're out on the road in March.
Okay, thanks so much for having me. Cheers.
Give me the purpose now. She tells me all the time.
The Festival of Shakespeare in Stafford returns this year, and it's going to be indoors, all taking place on stage at the Stafford Gatehouse from the 23rd of June right the way through until the 9th of July. To tell us more about what they have in store, I have Mike Groves, who is their producer. Hello, sir.
Hello, how are you?
I'm good. I hope we find you well and getting ready for a Midsummer Night's Dream.
Yes, yeah, very busy, very busy.
How does it work as far as the schedule goes? Because the planning that goes into this starts well before we get to 2023 for the 2023 event.
So we've started planning this since the beginning of last year. It's a little bit different this year because it's not at Stafford Castle, it's at the Stafford Gatehouse Theatre. So we've moved it for various reasons, but what it's done is it's given us an opportunity to really explore what the theatre can offer in terms of a Shakespeare production. So it's got its differences this year to other years, but it's all looking very exciting. To answer your question, we start as early as November last year, I think I started.
So an awful lot of planning goes into it, and getting the cast right is another important part of this. And I know not all the cast announcements are out as yet, but what we've heard so far is sounding rather impressive.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we have the wonderful Kerry Ellis in the role of Titania. She is a West End and Broadway legend. So it's really nice for us to be able to bring a piece of West End theatre to Stafford. And it's not only exciting for Stafford and the Stafford Gatehouse, but it's really doing something for regional theatres as well, which is very exciting.
Yeah, and I think that's a big part of what it's about, isn't it? It's about showing that this sort of stuff doesn't just happen in London. It actually happens all over the UK. And what is it, more than 30 years now, Stafford has played host to these wonderful productions, which really show off the town in a way you wouldn't imagine unless you actually went to see it.
Yeah, all very true. It's a hope. I guess we're all sick of talking about the cost of living crisis, but we're offering something now that is of a West End quality at a fraction of the price. We're not charging London prices for this event, but the actual quality and the cast, as we've already mentioned, is of that West End quality. So yeah, it's very exciting, and I'm hoping it'll sort of encourage everybody to look at their local theatre and see what they're producing. And I'm hoping we are encouraging other local theatres to start producing something as well. So it's very exciting for us, and it's very exciting for the theatre industry as well.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, we already know that there's yourselves and the Grand who are producing in-house productions regularly. You look over to Birmingham, you've got the Hippodrome, who have got massive links into some of the productions that come through there. And through regional theatre, we actually see more talent coming through. And now, whether that is London nicking all the best people, or whether it's actually a load of great people staying around in the regions to continue what is now a fantastic tradition, it is about bringing theatre and theatre on the doorstep from Wolverhampton to Stafford. It's literally just a little drive up the road, and so anybody who wants to see good locally produced theatre will be going to both the Gatehouse and the Grand on a regular basis.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's always been there as well. So I think it's time to start looking more locally at what your entertainment, what your theatre is offering in terms of entertainment. I know at the Stafford Gatehouse we've got a relatively new management team, but we're all very passionate here about delivering exciting projects. And there are going to be some changes within the Stafford Gatehouse that I'm hoping is going to start turning some heads.
Yeah, I mean, you say relatively new, but only new to the Gatehouse. You've got a huge amount of experience and passion there, and with the likes of Gary, he's heading things up over at Stafford, and it's really quite exciting to see what can be done, and that you're the future of theatre. And it's keeping working on things like the Shakespeare Festival, Stafford Shakespeare, and putting on events like this. And you're not ruling out going back to the castle either, are you? That could be where you find yourselves next year.
Absolutely, yeah. It's still all up in the air. So we are concentrating on delivering something very exciting at the Gatehouse this year. and then I have no doubt there'll be lots of conversations that happen as to whether we can move back to the castle. So it's still all up in the air, but and we certainly hope we can go back to the castle one day as well. It is a very lovely setting up there, but we can do things in the theatre that we can't do at the castle.
Mm-hmm.
We've got a whole flying system here. We can't fly anything at the castle. We can control the lighting a little bit more. We can create a better soundscape because we're not battling the M6 in the distance at the castle. So the doing it here at the Stafford Gatehouse has got a lot of advantages. But yes, you are right. The Stafford Castle is a beautiful venue. So we'll see what happens in terms of the future. There's lots of exciting conversations that are going to happen.
So you can get your tickets online now. What are the ticket details?
So it runs from the 23rd to the 23rd of June to the 9th of July. Tickets are around £35, which is cheaper than what it was at the castle. And yeah, we've got more cast announcements due very soon. I won't tell you what they are now. I'm just going to tease you with it.
We like being teased, that's all good. But
that's it.
Look for Stafford Gatehouse on all the socials to keep up with those announcements. It's gatehousetheatre.co.uk to get your tickets online, or call the box office on 01785 619080. And you can be going along to enjoy a fantastic festival of Shakespeare in the glorious Stafford Gatehouse Theatre, and brought together by a hugely talented team. And Mike, I mean, good luck, break a leg, even though you're probably not expecting to see you on stage if everything goes to plan. But have a great time with it. I look forward to seeing the show when it's all on stage come June this year.
We certainly will, yeah. Thank you, Jason.
With the 60th anniversary tour of the Sensational 60s Experience arriving at Wolverhampton's Grand Theatre on the 14th of May, it is going to be an amazing night of music. The voice of the love affair will be there, Steve Ellis, who joins me now to tell me more about his part of the show.
Hello, Jason. How you doing?
I'm good. I hope we find you well and looking forward to an amazing run of gigs.
Well, yeah, of course, always.
So, when it comes to these shows,
all being well and good.
Fingers crossed. That's the way we like it. We always make sure that everything goes to plan, hopefully. But it's going to be great to be back on the road again, and some amazing familiar faces and voices you'll be touring with.
Yeah, there's a few bands on. Yeah.
When it comes to the shows themselves, obviously, not only are you performing music for people who have loved the 60s all their lives, but there's also going to be members of the family who maybe weren't around at the time. But I think one of the joys of 60s music is it really does suit everybody.
Well, it's correct. I mean, up until COVID, I've been touring pretty much for about 10 years, on tours. I mean, prior to that as well, but I mean, tour-wise, done quite a few tours, big tours, for 60s fans, if you want to call them fans. I just call them followers or enjoyers, or whatever.
Yeah.
And I don't just make 60s music. I mean, I'm still making an album now, but people like 60s music, and there is a cross section, a broad section of people that come to the shows. I mean, there's young people, very young people, and very elderly people as well. We even have deaf people coming, believe it or not. Picking up the resignation in the front row. I said, "You okay?" And he said, "Yeah." And I suddenly realised from what they said to me that they were actually having problems with hearing, but they come and they're enjoying it. And I thought, brilliant, they got a round of applause, and I don't see what they shouldn't have done. I thought, fantastic.
What first started you into the world of music? What was your trigger?
What you mean, inspirationally?
Yeah, well, both inspirationally and physically got you to, really where you are now. I mean, such a hugely successful career. How did that start out for you?
I suppose back in the days there was not a lot of channels on the TV, and Sunday night was the big night, and everybody used to sit in the front room and watch TV. And when I was a kid, and when I was about 14, I got quite enamored with Ray Charles. I thought he was brilliant. This black blindfolder singing, and I don't know, maybe that was it. Maybe that's what started me really liking music, and then I used to listen to the pirate radio stations later, and it sort of went on from there to running about with my pals when I grew up with, in like a gang, not a gang, but like a whole load of us grew up together, about 10 of us, still mates now.
Mm-hmm.
And we all got into all kinds of different music, mainly soul music, because we all sort of grew into mods. You remember mods?
Just about.
And we used to go to the clubs, and we'd go and watch. We go to like Tiles in London, Marquee, all those sort of clubs, and see different bands and different what have we. And I don't know. My friend Nigel, who I always blame for this, and spoke to him the other day, actually, about an hour and a half, had a catch up. He put me up for an audition, unbeknown to me, because he played a guitar, and we'd go down the swimming pool and just mess around like you did when you were at school. And he said, "Oh, you can sing." I said, "Well, can I?" And next thing is he got me out for an audition. He says he's going to audition as well, play the guitar, but he backed out. So we're at this audition in Tottenham, and there's all these cabaret singers and about twice my age and everything. I thought, what the hell am I doing here? What you got me into? Going, yeah, you've got to go, you've got to go, you've got to go. It was sort of like a dare, really. Anyway, I went, and no, the manager comes out, a bit of a cliche, big old fat bald guy with a big cigar, and he says, "You got the job, I'm going to make you a star." And I said, "We'll have to speak to my dad about that, mate." And then we all kids, we were at school.
I was about to say, you must have been a kid, because you're only 72 now. You're one of the youngsters on this tour.
Yeah, it's funny that, isn't it? I feel about 900, but yeah. But no, as I was saying, so we played anywhere that would have us, We played weddings, we played youth clubs, and then we got better as time went on, and then we ended up playing all of the clubs in London, like the Marquee, with bands like the Marmalade and all sorts of Aiming Corner, all those bands of the day. Andy Ferrolo's a good friend of mine now, still, and we just got better. Flamingo. All around London we played, all around. Then we branched out, and we're still at school, you got to remember. And then we're going up north to all this, like I think it was the Torch in Tunstall, all the places up there. And then I come back sort of 5 a.m. from say Manchester, and my mum would be behind the door with a broom, and she'd whack me on it. "Where you been?" And I thought, "Manchester. Doesn't take that long to get back from Manchester." I said, "You think, Mum?" So it was like a bit sort of a bit odd, because then you get up and go to school next morning. But I remember that we supported the Small Faces. We were only 16. I think the drummer was 14, and we supported the Small Faces at the Albert Hall. And I went to school the next morning. "Oh, what did you do last night?" I played the Albert Hall with the Small Faces and Cat Stevens. No, he didn't show up. Cat Stevens didn't show up. Gene Chandler and somebody called Dorothy Squires and I can't remember, a few other bands anyway, and so the story went, and then we sort of carried on for a couple of years, almost seemed like 18 months, 2 years, and then we got a record out on Decca, which flopped, and I'm glad it did, because it was dreadful. And I know Tony Blackburn, bless him, played it, and he's become a good pal over the years. And then we got off. We used to rehearse in Tottenham in a warehouse, and the management, one of the managers, 2 of the managers, we had 3 managers, which we did at the time, came in with the pre-releases, and they used to play stuff, say, "Do you want to do that number?" Maybe for stage, maybe for recording. It wasn't discussed, it was just given to us to listen to. We like that one, yeah, we like that, we'll do that. And, it was mainly black R&B and soul stuff, and because that's what mods like. So then they came in with Everlasting Love, and I just went mad for it. I went, "Oh, we got to do that." So went in studio with Muff Winwood, who was ex-Spencer Davis, who worked at Island Records, and we did a version which I haven't heard since. And then the managers, in their infinite wisdom, decided wanted a big wall of sound, so I went in with session players like Clem Catini and all those top guys of the day, and it was like an orchestra and backing singers, Sue and Sonny, Sonny, Doctor's Orders. Remember that record, Doctor's Orders?
Mm-hmm.
And 2 takes, job done, and that was that. And then came out all the shenanigans, and then back in the day you had like what they call it, PR stunts. So we had a PR man called Brian Longley, R.I.P. and we November, end of November I think it was, and we're walking down Shaftesbury Avenue. He says, "Oh, I got it." He says, "Go to Eros and Piccadilly Circus and take some photos with Alex Byrne." He's quite a famous photographer now. And anyway, why don't you stand on there and get in the... Anyway, kids end up in the water, don't we? November. And then we end up... I climbed up to the top like an idiot, couldn't get down. So the police turned up, the fire brigade turned up, the whole of the traffic ground to a halt. You got to remember, this is like 67.
Yeah.
And we got arrested for breach of the peace and causing whatever it was, and we all got put in cells and told that we had to go to court. So that went all over the newspapers the next morning, front page. So his PR stunt came off, and we all had to go to court. And we'll bemused by it, if you like, and they fined us £12 each and bound over to keep the peace. And we went down to the desk, and the bass player says to the desk sergeant, "That's £60, and that pays West End Central Police Station a year's supply of truncheons and police whistles," with which he went completely mental and chased us out of the building. But just silly memories, funny at the time, but I shouldn't be funny. You couldn't do that now, you're getting in big trouble there.
It would be a bit different, yeah.
Things were different, time was slower, there wasn't so much, traffic, you couldn't do that now. And we got a slap on the wrist and told to be good boys, and then the record went up chart to about, I don't know, in the 40s, something like that. And then we did a couple of 2 or 3, I remember a couple of Top of the Pops and a few other TV shows and so on, because we got in the chart, bubbling under as they called it, and then all of a sudden it took a life of its own on and shot up. Next thing we know, we're 17 years old on Top of the Pops with a #1 record. You know?
And doing so much better than Robert Knight with the original, which is obviously what you were listening to, that got you the track in the first place. But then it didn't stop. Well. Oh, that's cool. And how did he feel about it?
He was sound. He was a lovely guy. I went up to him and I said, "Sorry about covering your record." He says, and he had a different record out at the time. And he says, "No troubles." He said, "No troubles." He said, "I had a hit in America. You had a hit over here in Europe." So he was a sweet man. Very nice man.
But several more top 10 hits followed. Most notable for me was Bringing On Back the Good Times. That's a song that, again, it's played to this day, the same as your version of Everlasting Love. And those both, I assume, are going to feature in the set that you bring to the Grand Theatre in May?
Yeah, we do Day Without Love, people like that. Rainbow Valley, but a lot of people really like Rainbow Valley. What's the other one? I can't remember. There was a couple of others.
One Road?
Oh yeah, One Road, and another one which is slipped my memory. I'm a bit tired. It's been a funny old couple of months. Been busy up the studio and what have you. Anyway, there you are. There we are.
Well, it's going to be a good night. I mean, there's going to be music. There's going to be a few stories thrown in for good measure. I'm absolutely sure. The important thing is you go along and enjoy the 60s experience.
Yeah, Mike Darbo's on.
Mm-hmm.
He's from the Manfreds. I've known him for years. He's good. Wrote Handbags and Glad Rags.
Mm-hmm.
Dozy Beaky. Oh, my mates the Fortunes are on. They're good lads. Great lads. And somebody else's name escapes me.
I think we've got the Swinging Blue Jeans and Vanity Fair as well. It's going to be a busy night.
Did I forget to mention Vanity Fair? Oh yeah, Vanity Fair. I work with them regular, so they're a good band.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's going to be a good one. It's the 14th of May, the Sensational 60s Experience. 01902 429212 is the box office number. grandtheatre.co.uk to get your tickets. And, you know, it's going to be an awesome night. Make sure you're there, if only to hear Steve Ellis, the voice of The Love Affair. Thank you for joining us, sir. Thank you for sharing, and we look forward to seeing you on stage at the Grand in May.
Bless your heart, mate, and love to everybody out there. And I'll speak to you in a minute.
The cost of living is meaning people are not looking after their cars quite as they should do. They're going into reverse when it comes down to the maintenance. To tell us more, I'm joined now by James Room, Head of Current Accounts at the Nationwide Building Society, who've done the research, and Fifth Gear host and motoring expert, Vicki Butler Henderson. Hello to you both.
Good morning. Hello.
Right, so first of all, Vicki, I mean, when it comes to looking after our cars, it is essential that we do the right maintenance on them because we don't want them breaking down on us, do we?
No, exactly. No, this is research that has been done by the Nationwide Building Society and the AA, just to highlight the fact that we do need to give our cars more love and not rely on the breakdown cover, and just use that really more as a safety net. So things like tyres, they're really important because they're the first things that, you know, give us contact with the road. That's what keeps us going. So we're very slack in looking after our pressures or our treads. If we run our air pressures, for example, on the tyres, if they're too low, then we are we're less fuel efficient. So we're spending more money in fuel, and also they're more susceptible to punctures. So just tiny things like keeping on top of your air pressures can save you money.
Absolutely. And not spending money in your car can very often turn into a bigger cost later on. Oil changes, absolutely essential. Make sure that you actually keep that engine moving the way it's supposed to move. And we may not all be driving the sort of high performance vehicle we expect to see you in, but it is about looking after what we've got.
Yep, oil is so important, and you can so easily check it. Just open up the bonnet, pull out the dipstick, and they've got a minimum and a maximum line on where the oil should be. If it's anywhere between minimum and maximum, you're great. If it's under minimum, then you need to just top up with oil, because if an engine doesn't run on oil, it will seize, and then that will cost you more money, much more money in the long run.
James, I hope your car servicing is fully up to date and you're not just relying on the AA cover that comes with your Nationwide account to look after you.
Absolutely not, no. And it's really interesting. So I think what the survey tells us is quite understandably, given current pressures, a lot of people are making, understandable decisions. So missing the odd service or foregoing that breakdown cover. But I guess the key message that we want to go with today is that, whilst that might make sense in the short term, in the longer term, those can lead to some quite nasty kind of one-off expenses. And actually having that upfront planning when it comes to purchasing that breakdown. And if you do that through a packaged account, that can be, a much more efficient way to do it. You can plan a monthly payment. You've got the certainty that, if something does go wrong, you avoid that one-off cost, as well as the obvious inconvenience of kind of breaking down on the side of the motorway without having somebody to come and save you, really. Yeah, absolutely. If you do break down at the side of the road and you have to be recovered by an independent, obviously they're the same people who will be, in many cases, employed by the likes of the AA, although, of course, they do have their own patrols and they are out there looking after people. But the cost can be absolutely huge, can't it? Yeah, absolutely. It'd be much more than you would pay if you were kind of just planning that and paying on a monthly basis in advance. So, Vicki, when it comes to keeping our cars on the road and enjoying that little bit of luxury as well, it is nice to have the right vehicle, isn't it? And once you have made the investment, and it's been getting more expensive to do that recently, it is about enjoying the joy of the open road when we do need to travel, because we take into account our environmental credentials too. Yeah, we need to show our cars a bit of love. If you're driving now listening to this, or you're planning a journey later on, just spend maybe 2 minutes just walking around the car, checking that your tyre tread is the correct depth. Grab a 20 pp, stand it upright and put it in the tyre groove. And if you can't see the outer band of the 20p piece, then you are good to go. You're above the legal limit. But if you can see that 20p outer band, then you need to start investing in some new tyres. But it's just a little bit of DIY maintenance. We can all change our windscreen wipers ourselves if we need to. They clip on and clip off, and it's really a fun thing to do. So just give our cars a little bit of maintenance, which will save big bills later on.
You might be able to change your windscreen wipers. I struggle a bit sometimes, to be fair.
I'll come round and help.
Okay, that'd be brilliant. If you can just, the tutorial would be amazing.
Perfect.
But it is about looking after it, though. And there's warning signs on the dashboard very often, and we need to keep an eye on all of those. The one that makes it least worrying is being out of washer fluid. But actually, that's still just as important, isn't it? Because you've got to have fluid in your car.
Yeah, exactly. Windscreen wipers are only ever destined to have like a 1-year life, and we only use them when the screen is wet or it's dirty. But if we don't have windscreen washer, then the wipers will start stuttering across the glass, and then you could end up, damaging the glass, which will then cost more money. So even tiny things like running out of washer fluid, top it up. Just a little bit of maintenance.
Absolutely. And when it does come to car breakdowns, James, I know the research has shown that something like 43% of people have had problems with their vehicle over the last year.
Yeah, absolutely. So interestingly, 43% have required breakdown. What we've seen in particular is a real trend with the younger population, actually. So that figure is a lot higher with the younger adult population, and that's probably symptomatic of the fact that those are also the ones that are most likely to forego on some of that maintenance, and also they're the ones that are less likely to purchase breakdowns. So in particular for that population, we're saying they're most reliant on their cars, they're most likely to put things off, but also they're the ones that are most likely to need that breakdown as well. So really important that people kind of plan ahead.
Yeah, and obviously, again, Vicky, we got to get our MOTs done every year, but leaving it to the MOT to get your car checked over, again, can be more expensive and more inconvenient because you don't know what's wrong with it before you take it to the test centre. So if you're having it serviced, have it serviced possibly just before your MOT each year.
Yes, that's good. That is a very good tip. But also just keep on top of what your car is telling you. Read the warning signs, understand what noises the car is making, and work out how you can help fix it before the problem gets worse.
Absolutely. So when it comes to getting that cover, as you said, James, we can use our bank accounts to be able to get that cover. And you're no longer worrying about when the direct debit's coming through. You've got a simple monthly fee, and there's loads of other great benefits too.
Yeah, that's right. Yes. So for £13 a month, you don't just get the breakdown, which, it's not bad value just for the breakdown. But on top of that, if you go traveling, get travel insurance, you also get mobile phone cover for the family. That breakdown isn't just for the UK. The breakdown cover with Nationwide is also if you go over to Europe as well. So really extensive cover. And as you say, for a price that you can kind of plan in and not have to worry about.
Yeah, and having recently had my review through for my cover, I know that's actually significantly cheaper than the monthly cost I would have had. And it's because you guys are buying it in bulk for all your members of the mutual.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So as a building society, and as the biggest building society in the country, we can, as you say, effectively kind of buy in bulk, get those efficiencies of scale that really kind of help our members get the value.
So where can we go for more information about the value that you're offering here?
Yeah, so nationwide.co.uk. If you go to the current account page there and look for the Flex Plus product, you'll find all you need to know about how to apply and all the details around the product itself.
And Vicky, not only when are you going to come and check my car over for me and sort my windscreen wipers out, but where can we see what you're up to at the moment?
Well, we've just finished a series of 5th-year recharge where we're sort of giving a little bit more attention to the hybrid and the electric side of things. And that has just finished on Discovery and Quest, so you can catch up on that.
So click that button, get it online, and hopefully there'll be some great tips on how to look after the importance of your electric vehicle. Because again, it is still just as important to have cover if you're electric.
Yeah, 100%. Yes, absolutely. So go to nationwide.co.uk for more.
Check those details out there. Vicki Butler Henderson, 5th Gear host and motoring expert. I know because she changes her own windscreen wipers. I can't. And James Broom, head of current accounts at the Nationwide Building Society. Thank you both for joining us.
Thank you so much.
Loneliness and social isolation are the hidden risks of living with an untreated hearing loss. To tell us more, I'm joined now by television presenter, journalist, and somebody who has been diagnosed with conductive hearing loss back in 2022. Kay Adams, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Jason. How are you?
I'm good. I hope we find you well and now much better off since you've addressed the issues with your hearing.
Oh, just such a difference, Jason. I can't believe it. Funny enough, yesterday afternoon, I spent in a cafe with my good friend Nadia Sawala chatting away, and it was noisy, as most places are these days. And again, I was reminded that Do you know what? Before I had the hearing aids, I would have been sitting there nodding, smiling, and probably not really knowing what she was going on about, which in some ways is sometimes not a bad thing with Nadia.
Oh, not called for at all. But I mean, on the serious side, with 1 in 10 of us suspecting we might have hearing loss but haven't been tested, and 1 in 3 having seen loved ones become withdrawn or begun to lack confidence in social situations because of hearing loss, it is something which is so easy to address these days, but very often does get overlooked, whether it be because of maybe shyness, embarrassment, or just thinking, oh no, it's just normal.
I think there is a reticence. And, if I'm entirely honest, it took me probably longer than it should have been to address it because I didn't want, to acknowledge that I had a hearing loss. I didn't want someone to sit and tell me that I needed hearing aids because, unfortunately, there are negative connotations, which I really hope that we can start to challenge. So I was probably 2 years too late. And when I looked at my parents, who've now both passed away, they've resisted well into their late 70s, way beyond the time where they could have really benefited from hearing aids. And, particularly with my dad, I can remember situations we'd go out for dinner and he would just sort of sit quietly and not really be part of the conversation. And he was a very gregarious, sociable man all of his life. And it just happened, slowly over a period of years. And unfortunately, with a lot of people, you can get to the stage that you think, oh, right, you've just switched off. You don't kind of want to come back into that busy social hearing world, which is why I would really impeach people to sort of be an early adopter with this, be on the front foot. Don't leave it until you get to a stage that actually you can't be bothered getting back in the game. Don't step out of the game. Make sure that you do address this and that you are able to enjoy all these wonderful social situations and indeed be on the top of your game professionally, because, you've got a bit of a boost. You've got a bit of hearing loss. So what?
It is just, as like, normal for you. It needs some to be corrected. And it is so easy to do. And with digital hearing aids these days, they are really small. People wouldn't necessarily know that you're wearing one. I mean, you have an earpiece in most of the time anyway. And I suppose you have to work around that too.
I mean, Jason, for the last 4 years, like most of the country now, I walked about with earbuds in. I was listening to podcasts, I was listening to radio, I was doing phone calls, etc., etc. I can do all of that with my hearing aids and I can hear on top of it. I mean, so as far as I'm concerned, I am the winner here. And, I totally get what you're saying, that they're so discreet now you can't see them. And my hairstyle is such that, no, you cannot see them. But if anyone asks me, can I see your hearing aids? I will happily show them to them. What is the difference between me saying, yeah, this is my little hearing aid, and somebody saying, these are my very fancy earbuds, that I've got, and I wear all the time? What is the difference?
You wouldn't even think twice about questioning somebody who's wearing glasses. So why should hearing be a thing that you would worry about?
No, but we have to appreciate that for whatever reason, there is a bit of a negative connotation, which, has become very deeply ingrained in a lot of people. And like I say, I had it. I really do get it. When I did go to Boots and I got my hearing test, I didn't want Sean, his name was, to say that I needed hearing aids because I also had absorbed all of these kind of negative thoughts over many, many years. And I'd thought of my mum and dad and stuff. But once I got over that, then I thought, what was I worried about? This is so much better. I mean, the sort of low-grade social anxiety that I had in both professional and social settings before I had the hearing aids of, sort of, as I say, smiling at people, not quite following the conversation, not wanting to completely, repeat myself, pardon all the time. That was taken away. So the initial reticence was totally over, swept away by the relaxation and comfort and confidence of thinking, right, I can hear, I'm fine, everything's fine. So I really would urge people, try and get over that hump. And as I say, I just rocked up to my Boots in Glasgow, my local place. The guy was absolutely brilliant. He took it really slow. Nobody's trying to force anything on you. But it made me really sort of sit up and think, okay, this is where I am. What am I going to do? Am I going to sit here on my pride and try and deny the fact that I've got moderate hearing loss? Or am I going to take the opportunity to make my life better? And I'm so glad I took the latter option.
Absolutely, and it's about getting a balance in your hearing again as well. I mean, my hearing isn't too bad. I've had it tested. The last time I was tested, it was, it's okay for your age, but I know that my right ear isn't quite the same, having been to a concert and had a pyrotechnic go off next to me when I was in my teens. So I know it's something I need to monitor, and I have been monitoring, and it's quite as simple as walking into your local Boots with a hearing centre and getting it checked out. And we can also find out where that is online, can't we?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, Boots Hearing Care, you can search for that, and you will find all the information that you need. If you're over 50, then you get a completely free hearing test, or you go to your GP, who refer you to an audiologist. I mean, there are so many pathways to just finding out where you are with it. And, maybe like you, Jason, they'll say, look, just monitor it and see how you're going. But why would you, put your head in the sand here when you can take the initiative and improve your life?
Absolutely. And there's all sorts of things that can be done these days. Now, I know people who've had both a hearing aid and something which produces white noise to help them concentrate when they need it as well. So there's all sorts of tech out there, which is amazing things when it comes to getting your hearing right.
Well, it is funny, isn't it? We do live in a very sort of tech-driven world, and we love the latest gadget that comes out, the latest headphones, the latest earbuds, the latest. Now you have the latest hearing aids, which can do incredible things. I mean, I laugh. I'd say to all my friends, I am the future, because I've got my amazing little hearing aids. I listen to podcasts, I do phone calls, I listen to the radio. As far as I'm concerned, I've got the best of all worlds here.
Absolutely. Once again, where can we go for more information?
Boots Hearing Care. That's what you want to search.
Search for that, or nip into your local Boots and check that one
out.
Or
nip into your local Boots. I should have said that. Go Old World. That's what I did. I spoke to Sean, and then I was down south in Bromley, and I spoke to Faraz. They were both fantastic.
Oh, brilliant stuff. Kay Adams, television presenter, journalist, and absolute star when it comes to just getting on with it when it comes to hearing changing. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks, Jason.
The construction feats and incredible design behind some of our biggest and smallest railway stations is something very much of interest to Tim Dunn, railway historian and architecture expert, who joins me now. Hello, sir.
Hello, thanks for having me.
Well, good to talk to you. So tell me about your latest work, because we've got some interesting tales to tell about some of the amazing architecture around the UK on the railway lines.
Oh, we certainly do. I mean, I can believe we're in our fourth series now of the architecture the railways built. This television programme we conceived a few years ago to kind of unlock doors and explore the hidden parts of Britain and Europe's railway network and show people what is behind those doors and how the whole system works and why things look like they do. And so this time around we've managed to get another 10 episodes worth of just remarkable buildings across all of the UK, from Birmingham New Street signal box, of course, which has just been decommissioned. We got inside that before our staff left it, and we got to show how the staff operated it and why it looks like it does. On the very first episode, go and look at the Forth Rail Bridge and see how that was built and why it is so strong and built so over the top, frankly. We've got a Channel Tunnel in the south, and like connecting up with France, we get to go inside the control of the Channel Tunnel as well. It's quite extraordinary. But really, it's going all over the country and taking experts with us who run the railway today and people who maintain it as well.
Yeah, and much of this will date from not last century, the century before. But when you visit somewhere like New Street, of course, we'll see that regularly on our way from Wolverhampton to Birmingham by train, or maybe places people from the Midlands go and visit. And one of those that you're including is Barmouth Bridge, isn't it? And I mean, that in itself is an amazing piece of engineering.
Absolutely, yeah. In Barmouth, we had in Series 1, so you can get that still on UK TV Play, the app, because you can stream it free, and then it's back in Series 1. And of course, Barmouth is, of course, where everyone in Birmingham used to head, and still does, of course, head for holidays to the beach. It is the closest beach to Birmingham. And of course, that wonderful structure, it must have carried millions of us over the years to some of our favourite beaches. And it's just wonderful that these structures, they probably were never really thought of as lasting as long as they have. And that's what I find so fascinating about Britain's railway and the way it's been constructed. We've got this massive network. We often forget how old it really is. And of course, we've got to look after this stuff. And so in research for this programme, we started looking out, we asked for some drawings. And eventually they said, look, come along to our National Records Centre. And we had no idea about this. But Network Rail has a massive warehouse in York, not part of the museum, it's like quite separate. And it's a working archive, including drawings done by Brunel himself and George Stevenson, that the staff today still go and reference, because of course our railway network is based on those Victorian engineer systems, and so we're still using their hand-drawn ink, pen and ink drawings today, consulting those whenever we make an update to our system.
Yeah, and you have to know what was built in the first place, what is underpinning it, and how it works. And the engineering that goes into this is huge. And of course, they didn't have a lot of the technology we have these days, or the materials very often. So these things were made sure that if they're using a natural product, they had to overcompensate for variances that might have been in it.
Yeah, absolutely. And so that's what I love about it, right? So we had this network, and we often talk about revolution and technology sort of being a revolution, but actually we're just gently nudging and moving things along very slowly. With the railways, of course, we've got to look at all the historic structures around us. I mean, we do operate a railway, not a museum, so we can't save everything, but it is wonderful that in today's modern infrastructure worlds, and in today's world of trains that go over 125 miles an hour in some places, we're still managing to retain some of these wonderful historic artefacts all over the UK for us to enjoy.
And are there cases where these historic bridges and the like have been moved and stored or put into a museum, effectively? How you put a bridge in a museum, I'm not entirely sure, but into sites where they can be enjoyed?
Well, I laugh, but actually, it's a very good point. In fact, actually, one of the Stevensons' very early bridges from the Stockton and Darlington Railway, called the Gaunless Bridge, actually was made of iron. And the whole bridge, dinosaur, this incredible iron structure, was moved bit by bit to the National Railway Museum. And actually, it is sat out the back of the museum now for the best part of, it must be about 40 years. And we're looking now at how we're going to reinterpret that and bring it indoors, or at least put it in a display the public can enjoy, because this bridge is huge. And there are certain parts of architecture that when things get demolished, you can't keep everything, of course, as we say, but you can keep some of the best bits. So when back in the day, the Euston Arch, as it was known, down at Euston Station, was actually flattened to make way for the brand new Euston Station. They did save some decorative parts of it. So there are things from it, like there are the gates and certain sort of elements of the brasswork. Again, at the National Railway Museum in York, and they have been saved. So all the kind of decorative, nice, fun pieces, the things that tell us a bit more about art and architecture, they have been kept for us to enjoy now.
It's having at least part of it to be able to not only reminisce but also see the techniques that we use. And again, I think that's another important part of it. And also, with what you've been able to see in the archives, that must be absolutely amazing to be able to explore some of that sort of thing. And obviously, in living memory as well, the Channel Tunnel, the production there and the technology used to create that was just absolutely phenomenal, wasn't it?
Yeah, this is the thing I didn't really realise. I mean, I'd forgotten that I'm a child of the 80s, and so I'd just forgotten, I suppose, in Tomorrow's World style way. Just before that time, there was another attempt at building a Channel Tunnel. We often forget this, that there was, of course, a 1960s and 70s attempt at building it. It only got so far. And actually, today's Channel Tunnel, the two railway tunnels were built, in the 1990s. But actually, the service tunnel down the middle of the Channel Tunnel, a lot of it was actually built on the same route and used as the same tunnel rings as the 1970s tunnel. So, and when you're down there, incredibly, there's a part, we drove down there in a car to get down there. And honestly, it is like driving down like a 20-mile long submarine or a tube train tunnel, because it is this great big sort of iron rings around you. We get to a certain point, a couple of miles off the coast underground. And there suddenly the tunnel changes a bit in its style. It turns out that is where the Victorian attempt at the Channel Tunnel got to as well. I mean, you cross that spot underground. And it's quite extraordinary. So whenever you're using the Channel Tunnel now, you can always remember you go through the same point in time in space that underground that actually our Victorian forebears got to when they tried to build a Channel Tunnel, well over 100 years ago, and that I think is extraordinary and wonderful.
It's absolutely amazing. As you say, you're on season 4 of this amazing adventure through the rail network, and your Tuesday nights. Where do we find you?
It's on the Yesterday channel and UK TV Play, and so it's on Freeview, of course, and that's 8 o'clock every Tuesday night for the next 10 weeks.
Well, Tim Dunn, railway historian and architecture expert, thank you for joining us and thank you for exploring on our behalf.
Thank you.
World record-breaking extreme adventurer and former Marines Commando sniper Aldo Kane has seen a lot of things in his career. He has recently been heading out and about, making the most of some brilliant adventures, and he joins me now to tell me more. Good afternoon, sir.
Hi there, how are you doing?
I'm good. I hope we find you well, and having enjoyed your most recent trip, rather more than some of the experiences you had whilst you were a Royal Marine Commando.
Yeah, I mean, that's where I started, was in the Marines. But yeah, we just got back from a recent expedition in Botswana, paddling the length of the Okavango Delta, which was, I have to say, one of the best expeditions I've done in the last few years.
Well, I mean, you yourself, you've worked on, a load of different TV and film productions.
Yeah, I mean, the trip we did in Botswana was up there, that sort of line of trips. What we did was an extended expedition down the Delta, but as part of that was with Exodus, and with part of them, you can do like 2-day trips to see the same things. But like you say, you're sort of, generally speaking, with TV and film crews, you're sort of going to these extreme places to document something, and sometimes for the first time, and bring that back, and that obviously gets made into the documentary. But I feel pretty lucky. I've been doing that now for the last 15 or so years now.
But looking back on your time in the Royal Marines, I mean, you joined at the age of 16. You saw active military service from the likes of Northern Ireland through to the Middle East. You found yourself held at gunpoint, experiencing mortar rounds whistling overhead in Sierra Leone, hunted killer viruses in the darkest corners of the Congo. This is all an amazing life story, and it has seen some awesome experiences. But equally, as we say, there must have been absolutely terrifying.
Yeah, I guess, I joined the Marines at the age of 16, so it's been kind of adventure really has been in my lifeblood since then. Even before, I was in the Scouts before that, and I think I've just always had, curiosity to see the world and to travel. And the more that I've done of it, and, for example, the first job I ever did in television was to get a film crew inside an active volcano, and I just had this moment of clarity when I came back from there that actually you could, if I followed my passion of travel and adventure, I could mix it in a way that would allow me to earn a living from it as well. And that's pretty much what I've done, and working with Exodus now, who I work with, Exodus Travels, is much more about taking these expeditions into far reaches of the planet, but working with local teams. And when I and in a sustainable way, when I've been on, almost every single expedition I've ever done around the planet has been working with local teams. So it's been good to work with these guys and actually be able to shine a light on the local teams. That's actually what we were doing. The film we made in Botswana was about.
And obviously, filming whilst you're out there. And what sort of challenges did you face then? Because it's not only people who've got the washboard abs that you've got who are heading out on these trips. You need to be in good health, but you're looking at trips here which can push you to the limits.
That's what I actually did was I curated a list of 10 or 12 expeditions with Exodus, .co.uk/Aldo Kane, and those trips are ones that were kind of like on my bucket list of trips that I wanted to go to or have done, and that were not too extreme that people couldn't do it. So normal public can go and do these trips, and it's just something to stretch them a little bit more than they would do, rather than their sort of bog standard sort of holiday down to Tenerife or somewhere. Like, why not go to Peru? Why not go to Bolivia, Tanzania, or Indonesia? There's just so many places that you can go and travel to and have a decent adventure when you're there.
An adventure, but a safe adventure, and one that it will allow you to be able to see some of the sights that people normally only see in one of your documentaries.
Well, that's it. I mean, it just takes a little bit more planning and a little bit more prep time, and you can have the adventure, of your life. I head out to Morocco next week to lead an expedition, mountain biking across the Atlas Mountains, and it's just these small snapshots into other countries, other environments, and working with local teams on the ground with a very low to minimal footprint while you're there. For me, expeditions and travel are all about, once you're there, is just as minimal impact as you can. It's one of the purest forms. That's why paddling these Macoro boats, the traditional dugout boats, down the Okavango Delta was so special, because you just become part of that environment where you're actually, you're paddling past 3, 4, 5 elephants. There's giraffe on that side. There's 40, 50 hippo in the corner of a river. As you go around the bend, it's just a phenomenal way to see the planet.
Yeah, it's one of those where you leave behind nothing more than the wake of the water as it moves underneath the canoe, and you take nothing away more than the memories. And those memories are the amazing feature, aren't they? You don't need a holiday souvenir when you've got digital photos of some of the things that you've done.
Well, that's it. And I mean, but that can be sometimes the hard part. Is like probably 3 years ago, I was doing so many shoots. I was back to back on, and some of them, the majority of them were sort of inverted commas world first expeditions, and we ended up sort of like being on this rat race of phenomenal trips that were just having to be parked and processed later, because they were on to the next one and on to the next one and on to the next one. And it was only really when I was sat down in lockdown writing my book that I suddenly realized just actually how many trips I've done and how many varied experiences that I had, and for me, putting that in a book and getting people to learn from it was key.
Well, it sounds like an amazing lifestyle that you have, and it's something that people can dip into with Exodus if they fancy a bit of an expedition themselves.
That's right. I've curated with Exodus 10 or 12 expeditions around the world. It's if you go to exodus.co.uk/Aldo Kane, that will have the Aldo Kane trips that I've highlighted. Some of them I've done, some of them are on my bucket list, and that's why they've all made the cut.
And does this mean there's a chance that they might find you on one of the trips as well?
That's exactly what's happening next week on the Atlas Mountains expedition. I'm leading and hosting a mountain biking trip. So I don't know whether the guys know I'm on it yet.
That'd be a nice surprise. I know him from somewhere. I recognise that beard.
Well, they might not, but either way, they're in for a surprise.
It's going to be good. Yeah, I know. Trying to keep up with you is going to be interesting, but they'll obviously have all the support they need to be able to get through the adventure and live a life that it is something. It's a privilege to do this, isn't it? And it's nice to have a holiday where you actually feel off the back of it that you've done more than just sit back and relax on a beach.
Yeah, for me, that's a big part of traveling, is to fully immerse myself in that environment, in that culture, with those people. And really, when I'm away with Exodus, that's kind of what you do, because you have to. These trips are quite remote, and they really do require that local knowledge, which is absolutely key to having a fun and also safe expedition.
Well, give us that web address again where people can find out about the expeditions that you've curated and will at some point, in some cases, be leading to.
That's right. It's exodus.co.uk/Aldo Kane.
And the book you're looking out for to learn a little more of Aldo's life is Lessons from the Edge. Check out the details there, and you can find him all over the health magazines as well on a regular basis. Aldo Kane, lovely speaking to you. Thank you for joining us, and safe travels.
Thanks, Jason. Cheers. Bye.
That's your lot for this week. Thank you so much for joining me. Back with episode 716 next week. I'll see you then. Ta-ra for now.
Goodbye from the milk bar. Goodbye from the milk bar. Goodbye from the milk bar. Goodbye from the milk bar, yeah. Goodbye from the milk bar, yeah.